everybody, it's Train Tuesday. It's me again, and hold on a second. Janik is out on assignment, so he will not be joining us this week. So I do have a surprise for you guys. You hear that echo because the rail cam is not far away. Let me show you what's going to be coming into stock here in the next few weeks. So let's go to the rail cam and see what we've got. Looks pretty empty so far. Hey, I remember the first time I did a broadcast online, right? I remember my first one. Anyways, we're doing a slightly different broadcast today. Janik, like I said, he is out on assignment. We're super busy with new products that we're coming out with. We're going to go over some of the things that's in this month. So without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and talk about that. And not only are we going to talk about the GP9s a little bit, we've got some interesting stuff from a parallel universe, but more on that later. So let's see what we can dig up here. And once again, thanks everybody for joining. I see everybody out there. Thanks for letting me know my sound wasn't on, because I just would have been talking away and you wouldn't have heard a single word I said. So it's Jim's first day doing a online. That's great. So here we go. So you remember we were talking about the F89F flat cars, and we're doing those separately, by themselves. We're also doing them with trailers. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove Okay, I'm still getting some reports out there that you guys aren't hearing sound. Are you guys? Is that still true? Because according to my mic, it says I've got mic. Is anybody hearing me out there? All right. It sounds like it's back. That was weird. As we're talking in Illinois, we're getting super high gusts, so I don't know if that might have had something to do with it or not. Okay, good. The sound is back. So, like I said, we've got the Genesis and we've got the impacts under the ready to roll. Now, Janik had done a really nice video on these that actually had some great prototype pictures, but unfortunately, because of our internet issues, we couldn't upload the video. It was just too big. So yes, Aaron, welcome to the Twilight Zone. It has definitely been a weird day as far as technology is concerned. So as I was saying earlier, we've got some stuff that is just coming into stock as well. I'm going to go ahead and remove this. And speaking of the Twilight Zone, I'm sure I'm not the only one that likes to model a railroad that no longer exists. I really like to model the Burlington route. Since I've moved to Illinois, I've had a real appreciation for the Burlington route, not BNSF, not Burlington Northern, Burlington route, or CB&Q. And then, of course, Boston and Maine, I modeled that as well. Both of those railroads don't exist. I'm sure just based on what I'm seeing from our audience, there's a lot of you out there. It looks like Adam. It looks like you like to model the Burlington Northern. You know, of course, the Burlington Northern sadly is no longer around per se. But what if maybe that railroad didn't merge? What if that railroad still existed? What would it look like if, say, BNSF did a heritage unit like what we're used to? What if Western Maryland never became Chessie and Chessie never became CSX and onward? What would happen? And a lot of us, you know, would like to probably see what that would be like. I know I would. And so what we've done is something a little different. Now, I know this is kind of polarizing for a lot of you guys because under the Athern Genesis line, we tend to do the most accurate as possible. And no, these are not... they're accurate as far as the prototype locomotive. They're ES44s, but these are in paint schemes that don't exist. And I've got one here behind me. Speaking of Western Maryland and the circus scheme. Pretty cool. So what if the Western Maryland still existed? You know, this is what it could possibly look like. And personally, I think that's a pretty nice scheme on a modern locomotive. So we're doing these. We announced these about last spring, if I remember right. They're actually coming into stock this December, early December. And so if you like the Burlington Northern or the Burlington, you can pick up a Cascade Green version of one of these. We've actually got a video that's going around with a Santa Fe War Bonnet version, with a Burlington Northern Cascade Green version, and a Burlington route in the red and gray. So yeah, it's kind of cool every now and then to just kind of relax and see what it would be like to do something a little bit different. We realize it's not everybody's cup of tea. Why did we do that? Well, it allows us to do a couple of different things. It allows us to let you guys model something that's not really available, doesn't really exist in the real world. And, you know, it also allows the guys that want the prototype Genesis ES44s to be further run. So this basically means by selling these, we're allowed to do newer ones in the future. So, like I said, it's not everybody's cup of tea. You know, a lot of guys are not really into fantasy stuff per se, but it's kind of neat to just kind of dream what would this look like, you know, if Western Maryland was still around. And It's definitely an attractive scheme, and a modern locomotive like this wears it well. If you want to know more about the, I'm calling them fantasy heritage locomotives, we have them listed on the website. You can just do a search for the ES44, and we've got them in Amtrak. Even if you remember the Pepsi can scheme from the mid to late 90s, we've got one of those in that paint scheme. We've got Santa Fe. Oh man, what else? We got Chessie for the Chessie guys out there. So pretty cool stuff. If you're into that, go ahead and check it out. Not sure if you guys got to see the Jeep 9 that I showed earlier, but as soon as we get over some camera angle difficulties, maybe we'll bring that back again. So that is pretty much what's going on this week. As far as what we're doing around the office, what we're working on, well, you can see behind me I've got an N-scale project going on, and if you saw the Jeep 9 earlier, that is going to be an Athern layout that we're going to basically build online together with your input. So that is some of the things that we're working on. Like I said, Janek's video unfortunately did not come through okay, so maybe next week we can get up to speed with Janek to see exactly what he's working on. So at this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring in the railfan camera, and we'll just do some Q&A for right now. Let's see. And I think we are going to Arkansas this week. Let's double check. Oh, there we go. All right. Hey, just in time. This time we actually caught a train. The last few weeks we haven't been so lucky. While this is going through, I'm going to go through some of your comments and see what's going on with you guys. Bradley. Let's see if I can grab Bradley here. ES44 AC in Olympia, Hiawatha. We didn't do it, but that would be really cool. I like those colors. Hiawatha, that's just beautiful. Let's see. Oh, we got to vote for Frisco ES44 AC. That would be cool as well. Kind of the BNSF heritage type of deal. Gary's got a question. He wants to know, was there a 53-foot trailer announced for Estes, but now listed as discontinued? What's up? Okay, so there's a couple of things there. And we might even try it online just so you can see for your own knowledge. Many times we'll announce something. Let's just use this Western Maryland locomotive as an example. We'll announce it. It's a pre-order, and it's due in December. Now, you didn't pre-order one, but you still want a chance to get one. So December comes, but they're not on the website anymore. They're showing as discontinued. What does that mean? Basically, what that means is not only did all the pre-orders go out, but one of the shops might have found out that we might have had some extra, and they've ordered them. So it basically means we sold out before they could even sit in the warehouse. We try to order a little bit more just in case somebody wants to get more of a pre-order, or they didn't know about the pre-order and they want to try to order it. That's not always the case. I myself recently, with a couple of releases, I didn't pre-order, and if you were to look up those locomotives that I wanted, they're already shown as discontinued because they literally came in and they went right to the dealers and they're gone. So that's probably what happened with your trailers. And it's one of those things where I know it's hard because sometimes we're working a year in advance, but definitely want to get your pre-orders in just so you don't miss out like I did and some other folks have. Here's a great suggestion from Ohio Railfan. He's saying, building off on the SD70 ACU project you guys are working on, I'd love to see the SD70 ACUs that are in helper service on the Pittsburgh line into future runs. That's a great comment, and that is something that we probably look into, because where that is such a new tool, it's brand new, we're going to want to do more runs than just what we're doing this time. We talked about the other Canadian military schemes. We'll be doing those eventually too. When they're going to come out, I don't have a firm date on that, because like I said before, a lot of this stuff is on a long schedule, and so it sometimes takes a year or more to get things from development to your hands. And then Waterloo Central, yeah, we are definitely going to be doing more of those CP Heritage units. We've had a really good response to those, and I know that was a locomotive that you guys were looking for, so definitely we'll be seeing more of those in the future. Peter has got a question. He wants to know, there was some talk in the past about HO scale GP38s and GP40s. Is that still a possibility? Right, you're talking about the straight 38s and 40s, not the dash 2s. It's certainly something that we're looking into. We know that both of those prototypes were used on many different railroads and are very popular. We don't have anything firmed up right now, but it is something that is on our radar. We've talked about it, and of course, it seems like the demand is there. So definitely, if you guys think there's a demand for just straight 38s and 40s, keep letting us know, and we'll try to put something in the design queue in the future. When that is, of course, there's no promises, just because there's so many variables involved. This is Joe. How about an MKT Bicentennial GP40-2? Something to think about. We kind of went through a bicentennial, rebirth. A lot of people were looking for bicentennial locomotives, and it kind of slowed down a little bit, but it may be something that we can look into. I do know that particular unit is a very colorful unit. It looks really nice as a bicentennial unit. I would have to talk to Janik and see if we've got all of the specific detail parts to make that locomotive authentic, but on the surface, it looks like something we could possibly put into the queue later on. Let's see. Frederick's got a question. He's got a blown speaker on one of his locomotives. What do I do? So anytime, there's a couple of things you can do. With your locomotives, if you're comfortable doing the repair yourself, you can definitely go to our website. We sell all of the detail parts as long as they're in stock. You can also get them through your dealer. We also have a helpline. If you go to the Athern webpage and contact us, we have guys that are well versed in all of this, and there's a situation for everything. We can talk you through that, walk you through that. If it's a warranty thing, definitely give us an email or a call so that we can take care of you. Let's see. Yeah, Frederick, if it's under warranty, definitely contact us. If you go to our Athern website, there's some contact information there, and definitely let us get you going again. Let's see. There's a lot of good comments. I'm just trying to find some that I can get to right away. Let's see. Here's one. Have you considered making the new CN Heritage unit the blue-orange Grand Trunk from your existing SD70? Well, it's been on our, we've seen it, we've looked at it, and I think if enough guys are really interested in it, I mean, the CN Heritage units are going to be, they're going to be huge. And I personally like that Grand Trunk unit. I think sooner than later you might be happy with what we announced, but I'd just say stay tuned at this point. John's got a good comment and something we don't really talk about much on the show. I'd like to see a John Deere 9600 re-released rather, as well as some other modern era North American ag implements. That's great. We've done some John Deere licensed stuff in the past. A lot of it was certainly older. There was a few modern releases, but we haven't done that in a while. So my question to the audience is, how many are looking for agricultural type implements and tractors? Is that something that you'd like to see Athern do more of in the future? If that's definitely something that you find that you need for your modeling on your layout, or you just don't think there's enough of it, please let us know, because again, like I said in the past, that's how we come out with new products. We really look at the comments on here, the emails that we get, things of that nature, because at the end of the day, we're all modelers. We want to make products that sell well and actually work for your layout. So that's a great question, by the way. Let's see. Got another +1 for yes, +2 for new tractors, specifically John Deere. And we've actually, with this rail fan cam, we were getting a little bit more action. At least we've got the full yard here, which is nice. So here's an interesting question. I'm going to put it up there because this might actually be fun for a discussion. Tony King, he wants to know, is it possible to make an HO scale train garden? Yeah, it is. There's different, Woodland Scenics Express, things of that nature. They make all kinds of different, ground foam and landscaping materials so that you can do that. Just do a quick search and you'll see some great ideas out there. At first, I thought you were asking, can I do a garden railroad with HO? And I'm thinking, man, that would be a challenge. Let's see, more votes on the CN Heritage units. Let's see. So while I've got all of your attention, wanted to throw some things out there. Now, as you've known for the last few weeks, we have been doing pretty much what you see here. It's usually Janik with me or a guest. It's a little bit late on my end this week without Janik. But what we want to do at Athern is we want to have more involvement with you guys. It's great that we can sit here, railfan, and I can look at some of the questions that you're posting and I can answer them and you can give us ideas. That's a lot of fun. But we're going to be doing some things in the next few weeks and into the months that are going to get you involved. We're going to be doing some contests as we go into 2021. These contests will be both a modeling type contest. They're not limited to HO or N scale. They're all Athern products. We want to see some of your pictures of your layout. We want to see what you guys are working on, because one downside to the pandemic is we aren't going to train shows. A lot of us haven't seen some really good layouts in over a year. So show us what you're working on. Now, we've got our Facebook page. Go ahead and post to our Facebook page. If you've got YouTube videos on your layout. Go ahead and post those as well. You can always email us too. You can email me. My email address is just simply jwiggin, WIGGIN, at horizonhobby.com. And send us your best pictures, send us your best videos. We'll go ahead and we'll share them on there. We'll give you a shout out. But as model railroaders, we really do feed off from each other's creativity. So we want to reward you guys for all the work that you do. We're not anything without you guys. So we want to see what you're working on. So keep that in mind. In the next few weeks, like I said, we're going to start doing some contests. We're going to start doing some fun stuff for you guys to start showing off your work. Okay, so Frederick is asking about the IMPACK spline cars. And since that was a little earlier, we were having some technical difficulties, we can definitely do that. Let me get that back into a spot where we can see that. Okay. Make sure that you guys can see that okay. I'm going to remove myself so it makes they could put 40, 45-foot trailers on there. And it was basically a way to compete with the trucking companies. So it was a little bit easier in the 1970s for trucking companies to go nonstop from one part of the country to the other. That was the good news. The bad news is there was still construction, there was still traffic, there were other things that would slow down the truck. Whereas with the fuel foilers, it was pretty much, with a few exceptions, it was pretty much nonstop. I apologize. I'm getting some more feedback about sound. Everybody hear me okay? Not quite sure. We are getting some bad weather, so. Okay. The IMPACK cars speak for themselves. Yeah, they really do, actually. It was basically an answer to the trucking industry, and it actually worked out for everybody. Can everybody hear me okay? I apologize for the frustration. I'm not sure. Okay, good. Thank you, Glenn, for letting me know. Like I was saying earlier, we're getting some, as we say back east, some wicked high winds, and yeah, it's doing all kinds of problems with us today. So anyways, these were a direct answer to the trucking industry, and it actually ended up helping them because before, starting in the 1960s, the trucking industry and the train industry were two separate entities doing the same thing. They were in direct competition for each other. So when Santa Fe started showing these fuel foilers, it really took advantage of the trucking industry in some ways and took advantage of the railroads in other ways. And like I was saying earlier, while a semi-truck could go from California to Maine, it wasn't quite nonstop. They still had to worry about traffic, construction, things of that nature. And it wasn't really the most fuel economical way. And remember, in the 1970s, there was not just once, but twice a fuel shortage. There might be some older folks out there that remember waiting in line to get gas. So the trucking industry was hit really hard from that. So what Santa Fe did is they came up with these flat cars that would not only hold just one trailer, or van as they're called, but 4 or 5. These articulated cars would hold 4 or 5 40 to 45 foot trailers. And the beauty of that was they could go from California straight to Chicago, and then the truck could go to the rail yard, pick up its trailer, and then go to a smaller town or city nearby Chicago. And so what that really did is that really really cut down on fuel expense, maintenance on the trucks, and this is kind of the beginning of the TOFC like we see now. These were pretty much in the beginning stages of really getting a heavy push onto the trailer on flat car, like we see now. Now, you don't really see these as much anymore. These ready to run versions, these are pretty much depicting the late 70s, early 1980s. So if you're running a layout that's, I'd say, about mid to later 1970s into the early 90s, you can definitely run these. Now, again, these are ready to roll, and these are perfect. I know a lot of the HO guys out there, you're into Fremo, maybe one track, or some type of modular type club. These are perfect for that. They're, heavily weighted so they don't derail easily. That was a problem in the old days when they were all injection plastic. Well, now they've got some weight to them. They're metal, so they're not as prone to derailing over switch points and things of that nature. And they're great on modular type layouts. So when we go back to shows and we've got our modular clubs set back up again, you'll want to go ahead and probably pick up some of these. Like I said, these are perfect for any type of class one that's in the 70s up to the early 90s. We're offering them in the road names that you see there, and they're offered in two different road numbers too, so you can mix and match and still have plenty of variety. And let's see. Kevin says it's Taco Tuesday. Yep, that it is. Thank you for making me hungry. Kevin, I think you say that every week, but it's just fun to say it now and then. Who doesn't like tacos? Okay, now what I will do too, just in case anybody missed it from earlier when we were having all those problems, is I will bring up the F89F flat cars, and let's see if I can do that without losing my voice again. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that, because it seems like today anyways, if I minimize myself out of the screen, you can't hear what I'm saying, which to my wife isn't necessarily a bad thing. All right. Okay, can you guys hear me okay? I shouldn't have gone anywhere. All right. These are really exciting. Now, these are part of the Genesis line. Scroll up to the top. The HO scale Genesis F89F flat car, based on the 89-foot flat cars developed by Trailer Train, now just simply called TTX. They developed these. These are standalone cars. They're not articulated like the fuel foilers that we talked about earlier. It's the IMPACK spine cars. These are separate cars. They're 89 feet 8 inches long, and as you can see, we have them mainly in Trailer Train, the earlier Trailer Train paint schemes, and we've got those hitches on there. Now the hitches, it's pretty cool. I was reading about this earlier. Each flat car typically will have 4 of those hitches, and you're like, why is there 4 hitches on this flat car if it can only carry 2 at best? The reason being is because within the industry, especially when these first came out, there was everything from pup trailers, the small 25-footers, all the way to 40-footers, 45s, and of course now we have 48 and 53-foot trailers. So they had foresight to put that in there so that they could, take care of a range of trailers. If you look carefully on the ends there, you'll see those ramps. There's a small ramp and a long ramp on either end, on the A end and the B end. When these are in a yard, those hitches are down those ramps are down, and they had a small truck. I remember, 2 months ago, we came out with that yard truck, like a little yard goat. They have one of those. They hitch up to the trailer. They literally run over these flat cars like a long giant bridge until they get to their destination of which trailer they're going to be at. They then disconnect the truck, and there's some of these are pneumatic. They have a pneumatic hose that they can put to that hitch, and that hitch will come up and then it locks into place. Some of the earlier ones, it was more of a hand crank type of deal. Depending on the era and depending on the flat car, depended on how that hitch would raise and lower. But one way or another, that hitch would rise up, it would lock into place, and they could lock the trailer onto the car and then go on to the next one. So this was a practice that made loading and unloading semi-trailers a little bit easier than the older 1960s and earlier flat cars that were just a standard flat car that they had converted to hauling these trailers. Now we're offering these both as just a flat car by itself, and what is really cool, we're offering them also with selected trailers. I myself am personally drawn to that Rock Island trailer. I think that's really cool. It's kind of the older logo font. We've also got a few other different ones that range from 1970s, 1980s modeling. And, the great thing about these trailers, if you're modeling industrial areas, you can always use these trailers as a scenic element for your warehouses, for your different buildings, or just using them on the flat car themselves. Now, these are cars that you would have seen throughout the later 70s, into the 80s, into the 90s. Obviously, the mustard yellow TTX, that's the older style paint scheme. They've since changed that. So that gives you an idea of where you're looking at as far as what era to model. But a lot of these are still around in some form or another. And if you're doing anything from, I'd say, late 70s to early 2000s, these are more than applicable for your layout. Now they are Genesis, and because they are scale, they do require a wider radius to turn. So most guys that are going to buy these are going to probably have them for their home layout. You could probably take them to your module clubs as well. Just be really careful because, as you know, there's a lot of detail parts on there. You don't want to ruin those. But a really cool car, and again, the way that they've been engineered is they're heavy enough so that you don't have the problems with derailments. I mean, obviously, there's not a lot of material there, so the engineers have made it so that they've cast in metal, and the ride height is prototypically accurate. The wheels, everything has been designed so that it has flawless operation. As long as your track work is good, then these will have no problem on your layout. So there you have it. I mean, we've got pretty much a lot of trying to get a lot of these trailers out today. It's kind of the program is pretty much trailer trains. Interesting time. And like I said, I think it was last week we talked briefly about it. Kalmbach Publishing has a book on TOFC. I highly recommend taking a look at that because it's a really great book if you're modeling trucking terminals, things of that nature. That's a book that you're going to want to take a look at. So, all right. Any questions on this? I saw there was some comments. I wanted to make sure if somebody had a question on those that we could address them. All right. Yeah, Gary just kind of comments what I was saying earlier. The recent run of Athern trailers really do look nice around a warehouse, factory, wherever. And it's true. I mean, the project layout that Athern and myself will be building with your input, we'll be using some of the Athern trailers. And I don't have one with me right now, but it's really to me, amazing how detailed they are. Even the mud flaps are all, you can read the lettering and everything on the mud flaps, and just the spare tire rack on the trailers. They really look nice. In the old days, not that long ago, the trailers were such that you would buy them and they were nicely modeled and stuff, but you would have to detail paint them and try to find decals for them and things of that nature. And once again, the Athern has done all that hard work for you. Let's see. We got a request for more Florida East Coast locomotives. Okay. Cyrus, is there a particular era or paint scheme of Florida East Coast that you're looking for? Because I know there's more than one. So is there one that you're looking for specifically? Just let us know in the comments section there. Kevin is looking for Norfolk and Western MOW maintenance away equipment in the hamburger scheme. And for those that don't know what he's talking about, I've heard it called the hamburger scheme. I've heard it called the Burger King scheme. If you do a quick Google search for Norfolk and Western Railroad, their logo, it kind of looks like a burger. So a lot of rail fans call it a burger scheme or Big Mac scheme, whatever you want to call it, depending on where you're from. Let's see. Gary's making a comment about the 4-hitch cars that we're talking about today. Definitely could use another run of the 89 footers as delivered in the later 60s. Yeah, that's something that we can always consider. What Gary is talking about is in the 60s. I believe, correct me, for the truckers out there, correct me if I'm wrong, but by the 60s, the Interstate Commerce Committee didn't allow anything over a 40-foot trailer. It wasn't until, I believe, about 1980 they really relaxed that. You're an old guy when you remember cab over tractors. For the young guys that don't know what a cab over tractor is, that was a way for them to get a 40-foot trailer or even a 45-foot trailer later on in the 70s, because the Interstate Commerce Division, they were measuring the length of the truck. It wasn't just the length of the trailer. So a conventional truck, what we see more often nowadays, they would run shorter trailers, whereas the cab over or the snub nose or the cab over tractors, they could, since the cab was literally over the drivetrain of the truck, they could haul a longer trailer, and that's why they were popular. After about 1980 or so, they relaxed those rules, and now you see more conventional tractors. So it's not unusual to see a 53-foot reefer being pulled by a conventional tractor, because those lengths are not, as strict as they were in the 1960s. Let's see. There's a lot of good comments here. So here's a good question. I want to address it by Jeff. He says, hey, I got here late. Will you release the latest version SD70 Ace locomotives in undecorated? By the way, I like your picture there. So you got a project on that trailer. So there's a couple of things that we as a company have to look at. I myself, for years, did a lot of custom painting. It was something I really enjoyed. And a lot of people will ask, hey, why can't you just do an undecorated? And that's been a challenge of late. I won't say it's something that we will never do, but it actually is more expensive for us to do an undecorated, and we don't typically sell as many undecorateds. I think the reasoning being is we just don't see as many guys doing as much custom painting anymore. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of the releases that are coming out, it's just easier for me to pick up, say, a Boston to Maine or a Burlington route locomotive that's already ready to go, and I can spend my time detailing a structure kit or doing some other work on my layout. We still see requests for undecorated, but we don't see as much as we used to. So if that makes sense. So think of it this way. Yes, we can do them. However, it's actually more expensive in the long run just because of the assembly process that's done at our factory. And then we kind of, we're kind of sometimes stuck on stock. They don't always sell as well as, say, a Burlington Northern or a Santa Fe unit. But that's a great question, and don't take that as a no. I mean, we never say no, but it's something that we have to think about. And if there's enough response for a specific locomotive, there's a possibility. We have done it in the past, and we're not opposed to saying no in the future. And yeah, that Vega's pretty cool. Let's see. Some great questions today, and I'm glad you guys are asking. This is our chance to, really see what you guys are working on and what things are bugging you. What would you like to see? So I'm going to basically bring this one together. We get some comments for N scale. There's quite a few comments for N scale. They're all over the board. Guys are wanting to know what N scale is going to be available. So N scale is very popular. It's one that we just don't see as much as the HO. But that being said, we're never going to abandon N scale. We're working on N scale, but if there's something that you want to see in N scale, let us know. I can't promise you that we're going to do it, but again, we have an easier task of trying to promote something that needs to be done if we get enough requests to produce it. It's just like anything else. Things that sell get produced because they sell. If we get 2 people to ask for a certain prototype and we spend a lot of money on researching it and building it and everything else, and it doesn't sell, then shame on us. So we're always willing to listen. If we get enough requests in the N scale, we'll usually release something. I know it's been a while since a brand new release in N scale, but something we can take under advisement. Kevin says, I can't see N scale, I'm too old. I don't know if you're too old or not, but I'm kind of getting there with you. The N scale layout behind me has been on hold because I've been working on the Athern HO scale layout, and my eyes are not as good as they used to be. And, I don't know. It's not always age. Sometimes that the eyes just can't keep up. And you know what? I'm going to go back to our rail cam because we were rail fanning before we were talking. See what's going on. All right. Let's see. There's a lot of good comments. It's a hard time to see all of the stuff coming in. Donnell, if that's, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly, or I'll just say Mr. Wells. Would Athern ever consider getting into producing a line of track? Just wondering. That's a great question. For years, Athern has been known for making predominantly freight cars and locomotives and things of that nature. And there's a lot of great companies out there that already produce track. So we haven't really looked into it. But there is, I can think of 5 really good manufacturers on the top of my head that make really good track, both in flex and the sectional type track. So we don't think the market could really need another manufacturer for track. It's a good question, but we're going to concentrate mainly on what we've been doing for 75 years. And that's predominantly the locomotives, the freight cars, and sometimes the vehicles and trucks and tractors and things of that nature. Let's see. Gary, just so that I know, so you know that I'm reading you, because I don't want you to think I'm ignoring some of these. His suggestion is Genesis quality U25B, good for UP, CB&Q, SP, AT, MSF, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, I mean, that's a great suggestion. Think I think Janik and I talked about it one day too. It's like everything. One of two things has to happen. We either have to design it from the ground up, or we might take something from our past and bring it up to today's standards. And it's just like anything, it just takes time. It takes a lot of research time. It takes a lot of back and forth with our manufacturing, all of those type of things. But these are great suggestions, and who knows, it might happen. Let's see. And I do know that there's been a lot of EMD releases lately. Don't worry, GE fans, we've got stuff coming in the future that I think you're going to like. Steam, we're going to try to cover a little bit of everything as we go into the next few months. Let's see. Neil, I'm going to grab your question here. You've got a suggestion for some new paint schemes. Those are all great suggestions, and it's something that we can put in and see. We might have those or a selection of those in the next release. So, good suggestions. Here's a good question or a suggestion from Glenn. I'll bring that up too. He says, I hope since you're doing the SC70s again, you'll do a rerun of the UP Heritage units and the George Bush unit. Yeah, you know, the Heritage units, we did those a while ago. It's been a bit. And of course, now we have Genesis 2.0, so there's been some changes. So there's a possibility we could do the Heritage units in the future using the Genesis 2.0 and the dual sugar cube speakers, the LEDs, all of that kind of stuff. So that we might see. I don't know when, but and as far as like the George Bush locomotive, we did that. I think it's been about 2 years now. We released that. I always like that because it mimics the Air Force One scheme. It's a really classy looking locomotive. Yeah, we'll probably do that at some point again too, just because it's such a cool locomotive. NS Productions 8104. How about some NS Heritage units SD70s? Again, Heritage units seem to be hot, and it's something that we'll probably look into. I'd have to say, as far as the hardest thing about releasing new items is time. The suggestions are great, and a lot of your suggestions actually, come to be. It's just it takes a little bit to get from point A to point B. There's a lot of research involved, and just because we release something earlier, let's take for example the Heritage units. We released those a few years back. When and if we were to re-release those, we might want to say, hey, what did we do that we want to fix this time? Maybe there was something that we missed. Maybe there's something that needs to be addressed, and that's something that we're always doing. And if that's the case, we're going to turn to you guys out there, because a lot of you that are customers of Athern, we know that you're part of historical societies. You do a lot of prototype modeling, and sometimes you have connections. So we're always open to not only your ideas, but if there's some help that you can help Janik with or Matt with, we're more than happy to take your advice and research and make something that you'll enjoy in the end. Let's see. There's a lot of good questions out here today. I'm just trying to make sure I get a good variety of everybody. I don't want to keep picking the same folks. Here's a good question. This one's from Sean. I'm going to bring this one up. Have you considered upgrading the locomotive handrails to brass castings? Whoops. When you say brass castings, you're talking about actually molding the material from brass castings, not actual brass components, correct? And the reason why I ask is we use a form of plastic. It's basically called a Delrin. Delrin is a very slippery, very elasticy type material. And the good news with that is once it's molded, it has a memory. And if you're a klutz like me and you pick up your GP9 and you happen to, get some of the handrail with your thumbnail or something, it bends. But when you put it down, it bends back. And that's the beauty of Delrin. That's pretty much been a mainstay with model railroading manufacturers for 20 years or more. The problem with the brass, or if you remember the old blue box locomotives, they had metal stanchions and metal handrails. Brass certainly looks good, but if you're not careful, it won't look good for long. And so that's one of the reasons why we haven't done that. We've kind of stuck with the Delrin type material because it's a little bit more user-friendly. And yeah, Brad just said no, he probably means brass for the handrails. And yeah, the brass looks good, don't get me wrong. But you got to be super, super careful. Any type of transportation to a show or somebody else's layout, you're just so prone to damage. And it's just not feasible for most folks, myself included. I'm a klutz. I will definitely bend the handrails on something like that. Let's see. Let me see. Miguel. He says N scale. Never forget N scale. What's N scale? Oh, N scale. Oh, yeah, that. No, we won't forget that. Don't worry. They hired an N scale guy. I do HO as well, but I've been doing N scale for over 25 years. And hopefully, if you're a fan of Facebook, you may be seeing a little bit more an increase in N scale promotion. But again, it comes back to you guys too. If you want to see more N scale, let us know. I'm going to put stuff out there. Janek's going to put stuff out there. Matt's going to put stuff out there based on what we hear. And so if we want more N scale, let me know. And we'll start putting some more stuff out there. Let's see. Cyrus, he's got a good suggestion. He's looking for Cotton Belt, Denver Rio Grande Western, Seaboard Coastline, ICC Wide Vision cabooses. Those are great roads on a great prototype. Certainly something that we will be thinking about, I think. All of those are great lines that you've pointed out. That's definitely a caboose that definitely got some mileage and would work for a broad amount of customers. So yes, thank you for that suggestion. Let's see. We'll do a couple of more questions and then we'll call it a day. Before I do go, did anybody want to see the Great Northern GP9 Genesis before we leave? If you do, just throw that up in the comments and I'll go grab that real quick and I'll show you guys and then we'll call it a day. Let's see. Got some great railroads being asked for. Atlantic Coastline, Seaboard Coastline. That's great. Those are great lines and stuff that we're always looking into. If there's enough interest in it, then yes, we can definitely do something about that. Okay. Looks like a lot of people are wanting to see this Jeep 9. I can't blame you. The Jeep 9s are cool. I mean, Jeep 7s and Jeep 9s are some of my favorite. Let me go ahead and grab that real quick. I see some more good posts here, but I'm going to go grab that locomotive real quick. All right. In the future, too, what we'll do is we'll try to get some videos of some of the stuff that's coming into stock, and that way you can see it a little bit closer. And before we go there, here's a good comment. I know you had asked this earlier, too. I think it's time for Athern Genesis EMD E8/9. This is a must-have. There aren't any in the market with the high detail quality. There's so many different railroads and paint schemes for the E8 and 9. That's a great suggestion, and something that we could definitely talk about in the future. I think that, and maybe a PA would also be another good candidate. We'll have to see what our resources look in the next few years. Miguel, I see your comment on the big boy. I think Janik is working on a video on that. And as soon as we get a video of it, we'll go ahead and post that to our YouTube channel and Facebook. So rest assured, Miguel, we'll get that to you. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and remove this. And there it is. Get my big head out of the way so you can kind of see it. So a few weeks back, maybe a month back, we had a Burlington Northern high hood prototype on here, and we talked about it. We're going to have a shout out. First person in the comments that can tell me which end of the Great Northern is considered the front end. Is it the long hood or the short head? I'll give you a shout out. See who's paying attention out there. Which end is considered the forward end of the Jeep 9? In this case, the Great Northern version. So give me a shout out. First guy to comment. There we go, Paul. Paul, you win. There's your shout out. Long. So remember a while back, during the Burlington Northern merger that happened, the paint scheme from the factory, they were always Cascade green with the black top, and they had the barricade stripes. In this case, since this was set up to run long nose forward, Burlington Northern would have painted the barricade stripes on the front. So something to think about when you're modeling early Burlington Northern. But yes, this is the Genesis Jeep 9. These are going to be coming into stock in December. I'm kind of partial to this Great Northern. It's really grown on me. It might have to go on the layout. I'm not sure. Got the bell casting. We've got the new rubber MU hoses. A paint scheme that I never really liked to attempt. I have done it before, but a lot of masking involved. It's all done up there for you. I'm trying to keep my fingers out of any details that you might be missing. So there you go. Jeep 9s, they're going to be in stock early December. And like I said, these guys, keep an eye on our Facebook page. Keep a look on our YouTube channel. We uploaded a video of these new ES44s and the different fantasy schemes. And keep a watch too. Like I said, we're going to be working on that project layout throughout the year 2021. It's going to be a real simple layout that if you want, you can follow along and do it with us. But it's based on the Lance Minheim Palmetto Spur. So it's a real easy layout to build. We're going to build it. It's actually going to be right behind you where you can't see. And that's going to be kind of a special feature as we go on into 2021. Don't forget, we're also going to be having some contests as we keep going throughout the year. And of course, we're going to start doing stuff for the 75th anniversary of Athern. be thinking about it. We're going to be doing some fun contests. We want to hear from you guys. We want to hear some of your best memories. I know myself, my dad had Athern when he was a kid. So there's a lot of generations out there that had Athern. We want to hear about that. We're also going to be doing a holiday contest coming up. There'll be more details in the future. But I want to get you guys thinking. What we're looking for is a really cool holiday picture with Athern. So maybe you've got one of the newer releases, Jeep 7s, and you've got a snow scene and you're kind of got a nice winter look to your layout. Go ahead and snap some pictures and send it to us. And like I said, we're going to be doing this holiday picture contest coming up in the next few weeks. So stay tuned for that. Keep an eye on our Facebook page for more details. And until next time, I hope everybody out there is safe, stay healthy. Thanks for coming on board today. And next week, we will be talking about some more exciting releases. And maybe, just maybe, I can bribe Janet to come back and not disappear. But we'll see. You guys keep them busy because there's a lot of stuff coming out. But anyways, I'll see you next Tuesday, 3:30 Central Time. Until then, be happy, be healthy, and as always, high greens, everybody. Have a good night.